In the old part of Shunhe town, there was a narrow alley called Cinder Lane. Most houses there were abandoned, windows sealed with rotting boards, courtyards overgrown with crooked bamboo that whispered whenever the wind passed. Locals avoided the alley after dusk, saying the place had a breathing sound at night. But to Li Wen, a 27-year-old delivery worker who had just moved from the countryside, cheap rent was cheap rent. He rented a small upstairs room in a 2-story brick house at the far end of the alley. The landlord, an elderly man with clouded eyes, offered the room for half the price of anywhere else. He never explained why. "Just don't open the inner window," the old man said, tapping his cane on the floor for emphasis. "There's no inner window," Li Wen replied, confused. The landlord didn't answer. He only smiled, lips thin and pulled tight. The first night passed quietly, almost too quietly. No dogs barking, no insects chirping, only a faint rhythm, a soft hoo, ha, hoo, ha, like someone sleeping behind a wall. Li Wen assumed it was ventilation or maybe an old pipe. He unpacked, set up his bed, and finally noticed it. Behind the wardrobe on the far wall, a faint square outline, a window. He touched the edges. It was sealed beneath layers of wallpaper. He remembered the landlord's warning and pulled his hand back. But that night, as he drifted towards sleep, the breathing grew louder. Slow, deep inhalations followed by wet, dragging exhales. He could feel the sound in his chest, as if the room itself were breathing with him. The next few days, the sound grew clearer, more detailed, and closer. Sometimes Li Wen could swear it came directly behind his bed's headboard. One evening, after a long shift, he returned to find the wardrobe slightly moved away from the wall. He lived alone. He pushed it back quickly, telling himself he must have bumped it earlier. But the next morning, it had slid out again, farther this time, revealing the faint window's outline more clearly. And the breathing was louder. Hoo, ha. Slow, human, patient. That night, while lying in bed, he suddenly realized something. The breathing wasn't just noise. It was following his own rhythm. He held his breath. The room held its breath. He exhaled. The room exhaled. Just a fraction of a second later, his skin crawled. The next night was cold, so he shut all doors and windows tightly. But around 2 a.m., something woke him. A soft, repetitive scratch, 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 coming from behind the sealed window. It was gentle at first, like fingernails on wood. Then it became more forceful, more deliberate. Finally, a muffled voice, hoarse and croaking, seeped through the wallpaper. "Let me see you." Li Wen froze. He didn't dare move, didn't dare breathe. The room inhaled. The room exhaled. Then, slowly, the wallpaper began to bulge outward, as if something behind it were pressing its face against the fabric barrier. He squeezed his eyes shut until the scratching stopped. The next morning, he rushed to the nearest old shopkeeper at the entrance of the alley. "Uncle, is something wrong with the house I'm living in?" The old man's face stiffened the moment he heard the address. "You took that room?" Li Wen nodded. The old man sighed. "That house belonged to a family who lived here 40 years ago. During the winter, their son fell ill. The doctor said he had a fever, but no fever lasts for 7 days without stopping." He lowered his voice. "The boy said something was breathing behind the wall. His parents ignored him. On the 7th night, he disappeared. The parents said he had walked out in his sleep, but no one saw him leave." Li Wen swallowed. "Did they find him?" The old man shook his head. But the next family who lived there moved out after only a week. They complained about scratching noises at night coming from behind the wall where the boy used to sleep. Li Wen returned home trembling. The wardrobe had moved again. He barricaded the wardrobe with his table, chair, suitcase, anything heavy he had. But that night, at 3:11 a.m., he woke up to a soft, dragging sound. Thump, drag, thump, drag. The furniture was sliding across the floor, slowly, steadily, as if guided by invisible hands. The wardrobe scraped aside once more, revealing the full square of the inner window's outline beneath the wallpaper. The wallpaper began to tear. A small rip, then a longer one. From the dark gap behind it, a cold draft poured out. Not air, breath. A pale, thin hand slid out from behind the torn wallpaper. Its nails were long and yellowed. It groped blindly along the wall, searching. Li Wen tried to scream, but terror crushed his voice. The hand pressed flat against the wall and began pushing, as though trying to peel itself, and whatever it belonged to, into the room. Then came the voice again, clearer now, right in his ear. "You breathed with me. Now let me breathe with you." Li Wen grabbed his phone, bolted down the stairs, and never turned back. He ran until he reached the main road, panting, gasping. When he finally reached a hotel and caught his breath, he called the landlord. The old man picked up immediately, as if he had been waiting. "You opened the inner window, didn't you?" the landlord said, voice trembling. "I didn't. I swear it tore open by itself." There was a long silence. Then the landlord whispered, "Child, if something breathed in your room, you should pray that it was only the window." Li Wen felt cold. "What do you mean?" "When that boy disappeared, the parents sealed a window because they thought something came from outside." He paused. "But after they moved, we realized the wall they sealed wasn't facing the outside." Li Wen's heart thudded painfully. "The inner window," the landlord said, voice barely audible, "doesn't look out of the house." A shiver ran down Li Wen's spine. "It looks into another room that shouldn't exist." The call ended. Li Wen never returned to gather his belongings, but sometimes, late at night, when he lies awake in bed in his new apartment, he hears a faint echo. Hoo, ha, following his breath, waiting for the moment he falls asleep.